Okay, you guys, one of the most, I feel like I say this to every episode of like, this is a common question, but truly this one is a really common question of how do I find my purpose? So that is what we are going to jam on today with my very pregnant belly and very big boobs. For those of you that don't know, I am heavily pregnant right now, soon to be on maternity leave, and I want to leave you guys with all of the nuggets before I go away. And also a reminder to really utilize the podcast directory that we spent years building because the UI in it is absolutely incredible. And I mean, there are over 400 episodes, and even if you've listened to them once, you will get so much more out of listening to the episodes. Not even the second time, but the third time is when you will really suck the juice from them. So I highly recommend during this time that I am taking off the podcast, because I really just was like, I do not have the capacity to do 3 months worth of episodes before I leave. So there will be a break from the podcast, but I've never had a break from the podcast ever before. But during this time, you guys will then be able to catch up, which I think is actually really, really nice. So today we are talking about how to find your purpose. If you haven't listened to the episode where I talk about is my life real or fake, I would highly recommend listening to that. And I would also highly recommend listening to the episodes that are just like the About Me episodes, not just the first one, which was like obviously done a long time ago when I first started the podcast, but I've done a more recent one since. Listen to that as well, because it does kind of help you to understand really how I got, and obviously the more episodes you listen to, the more you're going to get this, but it helps you to understand really how I got to where I actually am now. So the first thing that is the most important thing to say for anyone that sits here and thinks, oh, I just woke up one day and I figured out what I wanted to do, that is the furthest thing from how I figured out my purpose. I truly am a very big advocate for you need to do what feels on purpose for you right now. And what you feel on purpose, like on what feels kind of like purposeful for you and on purpose, quote unquote, now, you might intuitively know, I don't want to do this forever. But if it feels right now, just keep following the breadcrumbs. Because I mean, this whole business started as a fucking food blog. Yep, a food blog. It was called In My Bowls. I still hate the name of it after all of these years. But that is how this whole business started in 2015 with making my own food blog. And I knew deep down, I don't think this is it. I don't want this to be it, right? But I also was excited by it. I also felt purposeful by it. I also was motivated by it, right? And it got to a point where I didn't want to really keep doing it anymore, and I wasn't feeling as motivated as I used to because like the kitchen was always a mess and I hated cleaning up from it and all that kind of stuff. But deep down, I just felt this like keep following the niggle. And why I say this is because I've coached a lot of women that have their own businesses, and a lot of them will think that it's just like easy all the time. It's just like you feel this like intuitive calling as though it's so loud and obvious all the time of the next move to make. And I'm like, well, that's not my experience. Like sometimes in the last 10 years, that has been my experience, but there also have been plenty of times where that hasn't been my experience at all. And so really what I want you guys to understand is that when you're finding your purpose, it doesn't always feel like things are on purpose. Sometimes things feel really hard. Sometimes things feel really sticky. You don't necessarily, doesn't mean that you're necessarily doing the wrong thing. It's also about trying to listen if you can hear it, to that probably really quiet voice deep inside of you. Sometimes we think about this whole like, oh, if it's not a fuck yes, then it's a fuck no, but that's not true at all. That's not true at all, because there are plenty of things in my life that have been yeses, but they sound like a very quiet yes and then a pile of hesitation. It's like my body's like, yes, like it's a whisper. It's literally like, yes. And then straight after it's like, but, hesitancy. Oh, I don't know. Thinking, dwelling. Oh, I don't know. That's still a yes. It's still a fucking yes, because my intuition deep down, even though it was really quiet, like a little mouse, it was saying yes. And then my ego and fear was jumping in with the hesitations, the fears, the no's, the reason why, the logic, all that kind of stuff. So do not fall into the trap of thinking if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. Because I don't wake up every day thinking my business is a fuck yes, like my job is a fuck yes, like everything I do is a fuck yes. No, there are plenty of days where I'm like, oh, this is harder than others, right? There are plenty of days where I'm like, I don't want to go to work. I'm human. Do not fall into the trap that social media kind of feeds to you of thinking that running your own business is the easy way out, or running your own business, for example, or living on purpose or being in alignment just means every day is joyful and easy, because that's not true. That's not human. That's not real. That's not authentic. Anybody that tells you that that is true is bullshitting you. I'm just saying. Absolutely bullshitting you. And I say the whole business piece of like, don't think that running your own business is just like rainbows and butterflies and every day it's just like, oh my God, it's so much joy. Because a lot of people I'm noticing, especially with kind of the messaging that we get on social media, they think that running their own business is the ticket to freedom. I don't agree with that at all. And the reason why I don't agree with that is because, one, I am a big believer in that it takes a certain kind of person to run their own business. I do not think, sorry, but I do not think that everybody is cut out to run their own business and be an entrepreneur. I think it takes a very particular person. And if you are not that kind of person, it's actually going to be harder to run your own business. You're going to have way less joy from it than you are working for somebody else. Working for somebody else can still lead you to freedom, alignment, happiness, all of those things. God, I would hate to think that everybody in the world can only get those things if they were to run their own businesses. I mean, how would all the businesses then operate, because they need people also working for them, right? And it's also this reminder, because I'm noticing so much in young people, and it's becoming actually a massive problem. I've talked to a lot of business owners about it, and a really big problem that a lot of business owners are having is that people don't want to work. And people don't want to work because they are thinking that work should always just be regulating and easy, and like I should be able to just flow about my day and nothing is ever hard. Let me tell you, you do need to put in hard work to feel like you are living a life on purpose. You do not get things overnight. Yes, manifestation is real, right? But manifestation doesn't mean shit's just handed to you on a silver platter without any aligned action, without any effort, without any integrity, without any loyalty. That's not what happens. Okay. So there's this kind of trend from, unfortunately, social media where, with all of the kind of burnout talk and nervous system regulation talk and trauma talk, where people are using that lingo and using that kind of, like mental health awareness to their advantage, because they are thinking, and obviously there's nuances to this, but generally speaking, they are thinking that it looks like always being regulated, happy, super energized. That's what it looks like to be in alignment. Or like to be on purpose. That's not true at all. There are days where I'm exhausted. There are days where I am frustrated. There are days where things feel really hard. God, there are months when things feel really hard. And I'm still in alignment and I'm still on purpose, right? Not because you have to have this programming of it takes hard work to get anywhere, because a lot of us have that programming, and that programming also doesn't serve us necessarily, because that can make us feel like we are only deserving of X, Y, and Z when we are like killing ourselves for it. But it's not saying that you have to be embodying that, because a lot of us need to kind of come out of that programming, but it's more so realizing that integrity is a real thing. And a person that is embodied in integrity is going to get further, because integrity is a very high value frequency. And so if you are 22 and expecting to be a millionaire overnight, and like be the CEO of this company that you want to work for overnight, I'm not saying it's not possible, because obviously it totally could be possible, because like the world is our absolute oyster. But if you're also not willing to showcase to people that you are a fit for that role and that they can trust you for that and that you are in integrity, then the entitlement piece of then the piece of thinking, I deserve that, comes from a place of entitlement. That is like the differentiating factor. We have to be aware of the energy of entitlement versus the energy of like sassiness, if I can have anything that I want, or dreaming big or thinking big picture. They're two completely different things. And I think from what I've seen a lot of, like, this is kind of my like, I'm not even gonna say hypothesis. This is actually what I've seen from my own anecdotal experience with working with different people and whatnot, is that a lot of people have this entitled idea, and the entitlement is that making them constantly feel like they're failing and like they just have to quit everything until everything is just rosy all the time. But the entitlement is coming through in thinking that they have to feel XYZ every single day at their job, and any hard day, it just means that they should quit. What that tells me is that these people have a lack of resilience. Resilience is a very high quality thing to be, like a high quality trait to be embodying. And if you want to be fully living in accordance with your purpose, oh boy, do you need resilience. Oh boy, do you need resilience, because the human experience is hard. Life can be fucking hard sometimes. And if you want to stay on purpose, it means that you can't just give up when things get a little bit difficult, and things will get difficult. So as you are striving towards your purpose and trying out different things, and I'm about to give you guys a bunch of tangible things to start to do, as you're trying out a bunch of different things, as you're working hard, as you're showing up, as you're taking aligned action, you will have hurdles that you come across. You will have days where you're exhausted and you don't want to show up. You will feel like, oh my God, I don't know why I can't find my purpose. Resilience. So even as you're listening to more of this episode, bring your resilience to the table as something that maybe you need to be embodying a little bit more. Okay, so let's dive into truly how, that was like a total tangent, but hopefully good and hopefully activating for a lot of you. So I want to dive into actually how do you find your purpose? Okay. Oh, you know what? The last thing that I want to say also, and this is really important for how you're going to find your purpose, is I want you to be aware of any kind of addiction to dopamine. And I say this because, kind of following on from what I was saying before, we used to have to work for things, in the sense of we would have to, like, and I don't mean work for things in, again, like that kind of like you only deserve things once you're burnt out. I don't mean it like that. I mean that we used to have to work for things in terms of like we would have to like cook ourselves a meal to then be able to eat. Whereas now we can just press a button and then the food comes to us. That's what I'm talking about when it's like we used to have to actually show up and do things to get the thing in return. Like there was a value exchange. Now, or like we'd have to go out to the club to like meet a guy. Now we can just swipe on our phone. Okay. We are all so used to these dopamine hits that a lot of people don't even want to work hard because it takes too long, or it's too much effort, or, like, I don't want to deal with the hard days, whatever it is that your brain is kind of saying to you. If you notice yourself wanting to always be reaching for these dopamine hits, and as soon as it's a bit of a harder day, and AKA you're not getting as much of these dopamine hits, right? Because you haven't gotten the value back from what you've put the work into yet, you need to have a little bit of a dopamine detox and a bit of a conversation with yourself, because otherwise you will not have that resilience that is required to actually not just find your purpose, but then also continue on the path of your purpose, because your purpose is also going to change and evolve as life happens. Okay, so how to actually find your purpose. Number one, the biggest thing, I feel like this is the thing I'm always saying to you guys, and I'm going to say this quickly and you can listen to other episodes on this, is you need to heal your trauma, because your trauma, micro, macro, programming, your blueprints, all of it, it will affect your sense of alignment, and it will affect your ability to hear your intuition and therefore find your purpose. And I'll explain that in a second. So whatever trauma you have to heal is really important, because once that is healed, you can then become the truest version of you, which is being in alignment. You can feel what alignment feels like, right? And therefore, it's going to be easier to find your purpose. The next thing also is to make sure that you are aware of any people-pleasing patterns, because, and I'll talk about this in a second, people-pleasing can definitely have an effect on you having the career of your dreams, because you are really having the career of somebody else's dreams. Okay. And then obviously remember, you do not need to run your own business to have your dream job. Not everybody is made for entrepreneurship. So I'm going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works for you guys. If you are trying to find your purpose, that is already the problem. It's the trying, it's the looking, it's the like seeking out and going on a fucking scavenger hunt for it as though you know what you're looking for. You don't know what you're looking for. Okay. When you're in that energy of trying and desperately looking, think about this energetically. You're smothering it. When I say it, it's your purpose. You're smothering it. You're chasing it. You're in scarcity. And it doesn't mean that you have to just like sit back, do nothing. That's not what I'm saying at all. What it means is that I need you to be aware of what I've told you guys before. And it's this example that I always give of, when you are looking for a dress, you go to the mall, you go to the supermarket, not the supermarket, hopefully. You go to the mall to look for this particular dress that you want to buy. You can't find the dress. It's because you're looking for it. You're looking for something that is very particular, but you don't actually know whether it exists, nor do you know whether that's actually going to be the best dress for you, right? And because you're looking for that particular dress, you can't see. Your reticular activating system is filtering out other beautiful dresses. But then you go to the shops, it always happens like this. Then you go to the shops, you're not looking for anything, and you find all these dresses for events that you do not have. It's because you're not looking. So you can see these other opportunities because you're not pigeonholing yourself and seeing things in such a narrow way. We do the exact same thing with our purpose. We do the exact same thing with also like quantum leaping and manifestation. You could be like semi on your purpose right now, but you're like, I know this isn't forever. So like, what's my next thing? Stop looking, because when you're looking, you're limiting. All right. And so we want to be in this energy of kind of like just the energy of, openness, but we're trying things with openness. So when we feel the urge to like try the food blog, we're trying the food blog. When we're getting super into reading the topic about blah, blah, like the topic about birth, we then start really reading about the topic about birth and seeing where that leads us. Maybe you're getting really into gardening. And so you're spending more time learning and researching and doing courses on gardening and trying out gardening. In all of that, you're not saying, oh, okay, this is my purpose and that's why I'm going to do it. You're saying, I'm interested in this, so let me continue to dive into my interest of this. And what you're then going to do is you're going to follow the next breadcrumb. And then you're going to follow the next breadcrumb. Okay, so when I think about my journey with finding my purpose, it was like the breadcrumb of the food blog, okay? Started the food blog. The next kind of breadcrumb, like I lost my period. And so then the next breadcrumb was when my boyfriend at the time was like, you're a cold bitch. And it made me aware of how like, oh, men actually don't want cold bitches. They want, these warm, nurturing women. Like, what do men actually want? And so then that was the next breadcrumb of like, let me learn more about women's hormones and how men influence women's hormones and the feminine and masculine. So I went down that breadcrumb. Right? Then I had my ski accident. That put me down the breadcrumb of like the body communicating to us and trauma. So it was these little breadcrumbs that I kept following. I felt the breadcrumb. I remember this day. I felt the breadcrumb to share about trying to get my period back on my Instagram stories. This is like before my ski accident and all of it. And so many people were responding. All I did was I felt that intuitive, right? That's the key thing. I felt that intuitive, just like, oh, let me just ask whether people are curious about this. So I put it on my Instagram stories and people were fucking curious. So that led me to the next thing, which was reading more about it, sharing more about what I'd learned. Little breadcrumbs. I wasn't waiting for this like, Hail Mary, like big, the clouds opening kind of moment where it's like, Monica, this is what you're meant to do. This is your, like, I wasn't waiting for that. It was these little niggles. I would do it. See what would happen. Okay. Do the next thing. See what would happen. Okay. And I wasn't even super aware at the time. And often I'm not super aware at the time when I'm following the breadcrumbs, because you really can only connect the dots going backwards, not forwards. But it's about following the breadcrumbs, because like I said, get out of this idea of thinking that you have to, or that it's like the norm to wake up one day and know what it is that you're meant to do, because that has definitely not been my experience. I figured out my purpose over years of following breadcrumbs. And when I thought I found my purpose, it evolved a little bit more. Found the next level, it evolved a little bit more until what year would it have been? It probably would have been like 2019 or end of 2018. Yeah, 2018, I would say, when I really was like, oh, this is my purpose. But let's remember, when did I start the food blog? 2015. 2015, 2015, 2016, 2017. It really was like, oh, this is my purpose. Like I would say 3/4 of the way, 2018. That's a long time of just trusting, showing up because I wanted the end result and following the breadcrumbs. Okay. So if you're gripping too tightly to find the man, to find the job, to find the purpose, to find the clarity, to find the launch plan, every time you grip, you actually reduce the energetic space in your awareness to hear, to let the ideas come through, to see, to hear your intuition, right? And when we're in that gripping, we are in a state of survival. We are not in a state of receivership. We are not in a state of softness. We are not in a state of magnetism. And therefore, we're not in that kind of receiving state that is the beauty of being a woman, because we can just receive and magnetize so easily. We are not in that receiving state. And so those little ideas, the intuitive nudges, they don't have the space to come in, and we do not hear them, even if they did come in, because we're in that survival. So really like it's you can't think your way to purpose when your nervous system is dysregulated. You also can't think your way to your purpose when you're looking. And you can't think your way to purpose when you're gripping in your body and staying in this kind of control freak, methodical idea, as though you can like find an equation and that's how you're going to find your purpose, or do a course and then you're going to find your purpose. People ask me, do you have a course on the people have asked me, do you have a course on how to find your purpose? I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. The course is Queen Alchemy, or the course is the immersion, right? And the reason why I say that is because that's going to bring you into alignment. It's going to help you to trust your intuition. It's going to help you to let go of all of the things that are causing you to play out somebody else's story versus your own, and play out all your trauma and kind of be blocked by all of that. So yeah, that's the course of finding your purpose, because I would be, in my opinion, very out of integrity and basically bullshitting you if I said that there was this like A plus B plus C to finding your purpose. Just like I was thinking about this the other day of how I was like, oh, I feel like it's kind of bullshit. Some of the like, and obviously I've not done any of these courses, so I'm sure there's some good ones out there, and maybe the marketing of it is different. But I'm like, I could never market a program. Like I just could never do it. Market a program of like, this program is going to help you to find your husband or find your dream man. Because I'm just like, there is so much out of my control and your control to that playing out. You could do all the things, right, that it's going to help you to find your dream man, but it could still take another 3 years because he's not ready. So I'm just like, I could just never sell that. Like what's actually going to help you to find your dream man, for example, is to do the work inside of the immersion or inside of Queen Alchemy, because then you're going to be the best version of yourself, so you can actually attract that in. But at the same time, there's got to be an element of surrender to the timeline, because there's two people in the relationship and he's got to be ready. He's going to be ready as well. You know what I mean? So the same thing with like, I just don't think there can be this like purpose course, because there isn't this, you cannot be methodical with this shit. You cannot think about what you want your purpose to be and then go and make that happen, because what you think is your purpose is probably not actually your purpose. If you feel that that is your purpose and you're like digging into it and it's lighting you up, then yeah, that definitely could be your purpose. But what I'm saying is like, so many, like I went to a school where we were given, I remember this, we were given an A4 piece of paper with a list of potential jobs. I remember thinking, oh, like we choose from these jobs. And then when I left school, there were all these people that I was meeting that had the most random jobs. And I was like, wait, there are so many jobs in the world that exist that I had no idea about, because I had been fed this narrative of here is a list of 50 jobs to choose from. So that's what I was thinking I could pick from. Right? So then you're only looking at those jobs versus realizing that you literally can make up any job that you want if you want to. And that also you don't even know half of the jobs out there. So stop pigeonholing yourself and instead open yourself. If you are craving more softness, magnetism, and ease in your life, but your body still feels like it is stuck in control, tension, or emotional burnout, you need to be inside Muse. It is a new masterclass that we are doing that I am so excited for. And this is not just another mindset training. Muse is a full body activation that shows you how to unlock your feminine energy, heal trauma at the root, and shift your nervous system into full receivership. So inside this masterclass, I'm going to be breaking down why trauma is the number one thing blocking your magnetism and how to finally clear it, the 4 flavors of the feminine and how to embody your unique essence, how to rewire your nervous system so that receiving love, money, and success feels safe. The polarity shifts that make your man step up, lead, and cherish you. How feminine surrender makes you more powerful, not less powerful, and why your manifestations aren't landing. And a little hint, it is not about your vision board, it is in your body. So, Muse is where you are going to be able to stop chasing, forcing, and proving, and really start becoming the woman that attracts everything with ease. It is free. It is going to be potent as fuck. So make sure that you are registered. You can save your seat by registering with the link below. And trust me when I say this is the shift your feminine energy has been waiting for. So I will see you there. So instead of asking, what is my dream job or what is my purpose? I want you to ask yourself, just to give you something tactical to work on, because I know you want that. I want you to ask yourself, how do I want to feel in life? Right? Do I want to feel like X? What's interesting me over here? Like what gets me going? What I want to say grind my gears, but that's not the right word to use here. What like gets me into gear? What gets me going? What makes me feel creative? What makes me feel just like I could sit here and do 14 hours of work like this a day, right? And maybe you don't know right now. Okay, cool. Don't try and find the answer, but let the feeling of how do I want to feel in my life be your North Star. And let me add a nuance to this. If you want to feel spaciousness and freedom, don't think, oh, well, then I can't have a job if you actually want to have a job. Or don't think, oh, well, then I have to run my own business because then I can make a business that, makes this much money, but I have to work only 2 hours a week. But if that business doesn't light you up, or if running a business, because it's really hard, if running a business doesn't light you up, it's not going to buy you that. You know what I mean? Like, don't limit yourself to thinking the only way that you could have freedom and blah, blah, blah is by running your own business. That's limiting yourself, because the grass is always greener on the other side, right? Like I've said this to people before. People think that running your own business, like, oh, it must be so much freedom and like you can just do whatever you want and you're in charge of your calendar. And I'm like, yeah, to an extent, but you also never get to switch off. Like, you don't get to just come home from work and be like, okay, I can leave work at work. You don't get to just know your paycheck is coming in. Like, you're the one responsible for paying all of your team members and keeping the roof over their head. So like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Just remember that, like, the grass is always greener on the other side. So what I want to give you guys real permission for today is, can you let yourself be open to the downloads? Can you let yourself listen to the crazy ideas that seems, maybe like random, those nudges that seem like that's kind of weird. Why would I do that? Trust it. Even if it makes no logical sense, but it kind of feels like, ooh, in your body, or it feels exciting, or it just feels right. Like your intuition could just be like nudging you towards something. Even if it makes no logical sense, can you move forward towards it? Especially the crazier that it feels, do it. And I'm talking about the things where it's like, you get that, like that, those nudges of like, oh, just like text that person. That's your intuitive nudge. Text the person. Even if you haven't texted them in ages, reach out to the random person that you see on LinkedIn. You see, you know what I mean? Like you, I don't know, read someone's book and you think you want to email them to tell them how amazing it is, let's just say. And your ego might come in and be like, why would I email that person? That's a fucking stupid idea. But your intuition is like, no, email the person. Just email the person, because for all you know, they might look you up randomly on LinkedIn. Like, you don't know. They might look you up randomly on LinkedIn and be like, oh, wait, you trained in this, or you studied this, or this is what your current job is. I'm hiring for this right now. Can I interview you? Oh my God. And then all of a sudden it's like you have your dream job, all because you read a book and you followed your intuition of like, I'm just going to send a nice email to this person. You don't know what could happen. Trust your intuition. Trust those nudges, even if they seem so quiet. Remember what I said earlier. Do not think that if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no, because that is such bullshit. Because sometimes those yeses are extremely quiet. Those intuitive nudges are extremely, extremely quiet. Sometimes they're really loud. Sometimes it's really obvious, like the next step to take, or the intuitive nudge, or that gut feeling, but sometimes it's not. Okay. So if you have been living in your head trying to like be methodical about how to find your purpose, how to find your dream job, that kind of thing, thinking that you can think your way into clarity. But obviously, as you've learned today, and as I'm sure some of you've probably gotten the gist of, and because you've tried it, you actually can't think your way into clarity. Your body still feels tense. You can't feel your truth, because the more that you think, the more that you get disconnected from your body and from your intuition. That is, from one way, shape, or form, a pattern of not feeling safe in your body for obviously various reasons. We're all different. The immersion is where that will be reset. I'm pretty sure when this episode comes out, yes, it is. The immersion tickets are still happening. Yes, that is where the immersion is going to be reset. Do not think that the only people that are a fit for the immersion are the people that have a ton of trauma. Yes, they're a fit, but if you maybe don't have a ton of trauma that you want to work on, but you're just feeling stuck in life, amazing. You're going to get unstuck. I'm fucking telling you, you are going to get unstuck. You are going to have massive breakthroughs and massive quantum leaps at the immersion, and you won't necessarily find your purpose because obviously that we're spending 3 days at the immersion, you're not doing something else. But when I tell you that afterwards, within, a 2-week period, you could, I mean it. Because all of a sudden you will hear intuition. Maybe you actually will know your purpose at the immersion because maybe you've been shutting down an inkling for so long and a desire for so long and like something that's been really, tugging at you to do for so long, and that will come through at the immersion. And so you'll be able to actually finally feel that once and for all. But the immersion is where your body will be reset and you will feel unstuck. So it is not only a fit for you if you have massive trauma to heal. You might walk in there with no idea why you're there. I have plenty of women that come, they write us in the testimonial, so you can read it on the website. Plenty of women that come that actually don't know what they want to work on. But then once they're in it, they realize. Lots of women share that they come into the immersion thinking, I'm going to work on this thing. This is what I want to work on. And so much other stuff comes up and they end up working on those things. You do not need to know your trauma. You don't need to know what to work on. You don't need to know your direction for the immersion. That is my job to help you to feel and unlock once we are in there. The last few things I want to say is to please also recognize on the kind of like finding your purpose bit that you want to make sure that you are finding your purpose, not your dad's purpose, not your mom's purpose, not somebody else's purpose where you think like, oh, well, somebody else is really happy doing this job, so I'd be happy doing it too. No, your purpose. And a lot of us can get muddled with thinking that, our purpose is what our dad did, for example, or our purpose is what like our siblings are doing, or our purpose is what we're seeing on Instagram. And it looks like it could be fun. Take all of that external information and external programming, take all of it out. We want to strip all of that back because we really, really, really want to hear you. You are finding your purpose. And remember, if you are smothering, it's going to pull away. If you're smothering a man, what happens? He pulls away. If you're obsessing over finding that dress for an event, you find nothing. And then it's when you're not looking that you find your man. It's when you're not looking that you find 10 dresses in one day. Purpose works the same way. It doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to space. Because like I talked about, when we have that spaciousness, we get those intuitive inklings. We hear different things. We see different things. So instead of asking yourself, let's wrap it up with this. Instead of asking yourself, how do I find my purpose? Can you ask yourself, how can I create space in my energy field and my body so my purpose can find me? Or you could say it like this. Where can I create space in my body and my energy fields so that I can see my purpose? But you're not looking for it. It's the not looking, and then you will see it. Okay? And if you are ready to do that, in a very deep, embodied way, the link for the immersion is in the show notes. The tickets are here. I am so excited to be able to do another event with you guys. It is truly just like one of my favorite things. The whole to be able to do 2 last year and I'm doing 1 this year because of baby. I'm just like, I am truly so excited. There is more than enough resources on the website page for you to know whether it's a fit for you, for you to understand and feel into the immersion, to make that intuitive nudge. Truly, it is not a logical choice. It is an intuitive choice. The open house is on the page, the website page. There's tons of testimonials on the website page. You've got promo videos. You got behind the scenes videos of like long form vlogs to really see the kind of like authentic version of the like behind the scenes of the event. You've got the promo videos. You've got a lot of testimonial videos as well. And there's also a video on the website page where I'm talking about the immersion and the difference between Queen Alchemy and the immersion if you're deciding between one or the other. Please know there is no questions that's off limits. If you need a little voice message from me, if you need just confirmation that you're making the right choice, if you just need like some of my energy before you click buy, feel free to reach out and I will send a voice message. But please do know that I am going on maternity leave very, very shortly. If you're listening to this in the past, like a few weeks later, I'll already be on maternity leave. I go on maternity leave at the beginning of June. So I think the tickets will be done by then anyway. But so don't hesitate. If you listen to this podcast in kind of like real time and you want to ask a question or you need to quickly send a message, jump on it. All right, you guys, I will see you all next week. I hope this was a helpful episode, and I hope this episode just kind of like woke you up to potentially the way that you're holding yourself back and the way that you're making it harder for yourself to find your purpose.